I always tell people, don't go somewhere private with someone you met online until you truly know them. But even I didn't follow my own advice. And that mistake nearly ended me. My name is Tessie. I'm 29, a freelance illustrator who works late nights. I moved to Riverglen, a quiet place with fog-soaked streets and brick apartment buildings that look older than time itself. After months of being alone, I joined HeartMatch, hoping to meet someone normal. That's how I met a guy named Caleb. He wasn't flashy. He had a gentle smile, soft eyes, and captions like, "Looking for something real." We talked every night for a week. He asked about my art, my favorite movies, what makes me anxious, what makes me feel safe. It felt sincere. Our first 3 dates were in public places. A noisy coffee shop, a riverside food truck park, and a tiny bookstore cafe. He was polite, attentive, almost shy. Honestly, I started to like him. One Friday evening, he invited me to his place for wine and a movie. He said he'd love to cook for me. I almost said no. But after 3 normal dates, it felt safe enough. When I arrived, the hallway light on his floor flickered non-stop. His door was slightly open. "Hey, Tessie," he said warmly. Inside, his apartment smelled faintly of lavender and something metallic. The place was neat, organized, and a little too quiet. No TV playing. No music. He poured me a glass of red wine while I wandered around. I noticed something odd. Every picture frame on his wall had the photograph removed. Empty frames. Dozens of them. "Minimalism," he said when he caught me staring. We talked. Or, rather, he asked questions and watched my face intensely as I answered. Almost analyzing me. After about 20 minutes, my vision flickered around the edges, like my eyes were adjusting to darkness that wasn't there. The room felt like it was tilting. My fingers tingled. My heartbeat slowed. I knew this feeling. Years ago, I'd been drugged at a party. And this was identical. Panic crawled up my throat, but I kept my expression calm. He leaned forward. "You okay, Tessie? You look a little unfocused." Everything in me screamed. But instead, I forced a smile. "Maybe just the wine. Think I need the bathroom." His eyes sharpened. "Of course." Down the hall. I walked, pretending not to sway. The moment I shut the bathroom door, I locked it and gripped the sink. My reflection swam like a glitching screen. My limbs were going heavy. I pulled out my phone. Dialed 911. My voice came out slurred, panicked. I quickly introduced myself and gave them the address. "I think I've been drugged. I'm locked in the bathroom and I'm scared." The dispatcher kept me talking, but my jaw was stiffening. Then, a whisper at the door. "Tessie, you don't need to be afraid. You should have just trusted me." The doorknob twitched. Once. Twice. Then stopped, as if he was waiting for me to faint. I slid down the wall, fighting to stay awake. The only thing I remember after then was the sound of sirens. Footsteps. Banging. "Police. Open the door." The bathroom door burst open. 2 officers grabbed me by the arms just as my body went limp. But before I blacked out completely, one of them shielded my face and hurried me out. I would later understand that they were protecting me from Caleb, what was in the living room. In my fading vision, I saw flashes. A huge wooden table. Straps bolted into the sides. A camera stand pointed at it. The officer pressed my head against his chest to block the view. I passed out. I woke up in the hospital hours later. A detective told me they found sedatives in my wine. Caleb was arrested on the spot. He was a predator they'd been hunting for months, someone who lured women through dating apps and filmed them in disturbing staged scenes meant to look like art installations. I was supposed to be his next exhibit. The detective showed me something they found in his apartment. A card with my name on it. Already printed and framed. When I fully recovered, I deleted all dating apps on my phone and never went anywhere near them again. I used to think the worst part of online dating was getting ghosted. But I've seen something worse. My name is Marcus Hale. I'm 32, an IT technician living in Hollowbend, one of those small towns around. I'd been single for 2 years when I downloaded a dating app. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just someone to talk to. That's when I met her. Her name was Alara. Her profile picture showed a pale woman with long black hair and a soft half-smile, taken in dim lighting that made her eyes appear almost reflective, like a cat's. Her captions were strange, cryptic phrases like, "Silence remembers everything. Not all shadows belong to objects." I assumed she was trying to be poetic. I was bored, curious, maybe lonely. So I matched with her. She messaged often. Her questions were odd, unfocused, drifting, but I chalked it up to eccentricity. Some people are just weird online. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. We picked a quiet, dimly lit bar near the river. The kind with soft jazz humming through old speakers and the smell of whiskey everywhere. I got there 10 minutes early. When I arrived, she was already at a table near the back, jacket folded neatly beside her, staring at the empty seat across from her. She perked up when she saw me. "Marcus," she said. "I've been listening to the room breathe. It's loud tonight." I laughed awkwardly. "I guess." She tilted her head, studying me like she was waiting for something inside me to reveal itself. During conversation, she kept drifting off mid-sentence. "It's funny," she said at one point, "you look exactly like you do in my dreams." I blinked. You saw me in your dreams?" She didn't answer. She just stared past my shoulder, her eyes unfocusing. A moment later she whispered, "Do you hear it? The scratching, beneath the floor." She pressed her palm flat on the wooden table, leaning close. I followed her gaze to the floorboards. Nothing. No scratching, no movement. "Alara," I said gently, "are you okay?" She nodded fast. Then her expression changed entirely, pupils dilating like she'd suddenly remembered where she was. "You shouldn't sit near windows," she murmured. I looked over my shoulder. We weren't sitting near any windows. That's when my stomach tightened more like nausea. The air around her felt wrong. Heavy. Almost electric. Every time she leaned forward, my chest tightened a little more. My palms began to sweat. Her presence felt suffocating in a way I couldn't explain. She reached for her drink but missed it by several inches, her hand floating in the air like she was grabbing something only she could see. "Alara," I murmured, "you seem a little off. Maybe you're..." "A fracture," she whispered. "Right behind your left shoulder. It wasn't there before." I froze. "What fracture?" She blinked at me like I was the one acting strange, then gave a chilling, distant giggle. "I'm sorry." I keep forgetting which parts are real. That was it. My heart started pounding. She wasn't quirky, she was unraveling. In front of me. On our first date. I stood abruptly, forcing a smile. Hey, I should, get going. Early shift tomorrow. She didn't look surprised or hurt. She just watched me with this hollow, knowing expression, like she was waiting for me to notice something terrible behind me. I threw some cash on the table, didn't wait for change, and practically speed-walked out of the bar. The moment I stepped outside, the air felt lighter, clearer, like I'd been holding my breath for an hour without noticing. I blocked her number before I even made it home. I swore never to see her again. That night, the nightmares began. The drowning dream I've had since childhood came again, but twisted this time. This time, someone floated toward me in the water. Hair drifting like ink. Eyes wide and unblinking. Ilara. I woke up gasping. The next night, I dreamed I was back at the bar. Except the world around me was warped, blurred, frozen in place. Ilara stood behind me, whispering nonsense in a voice that wasn't hers. You left too early. Every morning, I woke up sicker, weaker, like the dreams were pulling something out of me. By the fourth night, she didn't wait for sleep. I saw her reflection in my TV screen. In the dark window. In the corner of my eye. Once, brushing my teeth, I saw her standing behind me in the mirror, head tilted, smiling gently, water dripping from her hair onto the tiles. When I turned around, nothing. I ran to a hotel that night. It didn't help. She appeared again, in the dream, in the dark, whispering broken phrases. You shouldn't have left. You cracked the moment. Every day she grew closer. And then came the night she stepped fully out of the dream, dripping water onto my bedroom floor, reaching for me with cold, trembling fingers. You didn't listen, she whispered in that fragmented, fractured voice. She leaned forward until her forehead pressed against mine. You shouldn't have blocked me. My lungs collapsed. It felt like it was replaced with water. Dark, freezing water. I woke up soaked, shivering, gasping for breath. And on my nightstand lay a strand of long black hair, curved like a question mark. I left Hollow Bend the next morning. Changed my number. Deleted every dating app. But every night, as I drift toward sleep, I hear faint dripping beside my bed. And I know she's still there. Whatever Ilara was, she wasn't searching for love. She was searching for a doorway. And I was the fool who opened it.
Some people don't just steal your money, they steal your reality.
My name is Leora, and I used to believe that the worst thing a person could steal from you was money. Now I know better. Some people steal your sense of reality. I have never felt more betrayed in my whole life. I joined a dating site last autumn, the kind that advertises scientifically proven compatibility matching. Everyone said it was the safest option. People joked that you were more likely to find a therapist there than a date. The profiles were clean, professional, filled with smiling faces and long paragraphs about values and compatibility scores. I wasn't trying to fall in love. I just wanted company in a quiet life that had become too quiet. That's when I met him. Jonah Breck. His profile looked clean. A gentle smile. A clean haircut. Our compatibility score was a near-perfect match, 98%. He messaged me with the kind of sincerity that makes your guard drop without realizing it. The man knew how to listen. Or at least pretend to. He didn't flirt too fast or pry too deeply. He told me about growing up near the coast, about restoring old watches, about the slow, quiet life he wanted someday. He felt calming, familiar. When we finally met in person at a lakeside lounge, he looked exactly like his pictures, soft features, warm brown eyes, a casual smile that made him seem trustworthy without trying. The moonlight shimmered on the lake behind him, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel awkward on a date. It didn't take long before I let him into my life. On that first date, he arrived with a small potted lavender plant, because you mentioned your apartment felt empty. On our second date, he remembered the name of my childhood dog. He'd text me good morning and send photos of little things that reminded him of me. He wasn't intense, he was intentional. On our third date, he walked me home, carrying my groceries as if he had always belonged there. He made me feel chosen. He noticed everything: my key hook near the door, the drawer where I kept my spare wallet, the schedule taped to my refrigerator. But when someone feels like a gift, you don't look for the strings attached. 3 weeks in, he had woven himself neatly into my routines. He'd stop by after work, help with dinner, talk about future plans. Nothing rushed. Nothing flashy. Just a warm consistency that made my loneliness shrink a little every day. The night he cooked for me, he asked small questions casual enough to slip by unnoticed. Where do you bank? Do you keep backups of important documents? What's your day off again? I answered without a second thought. That's how trust works, you give it away in tiny pieces. He kissed my forehead as he left. I'll text you when I get home, he said quietly. I never heard from him again. I woke the next morning to a sharp, thunderous knock at my door. It wasn't Jonah. It was the police. 2 officers. Blank expressions that made my skin crawl. Are you Leora Vance? Yes. Step aside. We need to speak with you. They stepped into my living room like they already owned it. One of them held up a plastic evidence bag. Inside it was my driver's license. I felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't lose my ID, I said. What is this? The officer didn't soften his tone. This was found at the scene of an attempted vehicle forgery. The suspect used it as part of the paperwork. Your name appears on the documents. My knees almost buckled. I don't understand. I never. Your car, he cut in. Where is it right now? My car. It's. I ran outside barefoot, heart hammering. The parking space was empty. I couldn't believe it. How and when did this happen? I wondered. The officer didn't need to say anything. He just watched as the realization shattered across my face. Ma'am, we need to know who had access to your belongings. And that was the moment, right there, when my breath left me. Jonah. My hands shook so violently I had trouble unlocking my phone. Check your accounts, the officer said. I opened my banking app. And the world went silent. 0. Checking. Savings. Emergency fund. Everything emptied out in one calculated sweep, 3 hours earlier. I dropped the phone. My vision blurred. Every muscle in my body felt cold and weightless. He was in my home, I whispered. In my home. The officers exchanged knowing looks. One spoke softly now, as if realizing I wasn't a criminal, just a fool in the wrong story. You're not the first, he said. He's done this before. Different names, different cities. Charming at first. Trust building. Then he disappears with everything. We've received reports from at least 7 other women. 7. He's using the dating app to select targets, he added. He chooses women with stable routines, predictable habits, and high trust thresholds. Trust thresholds. As if my empathy was a liability on a spreadsheet. When the officers finally left, I sat in the center of my empty apartment, staring at the lavender plant Jonah had given me. It felt like a sick joke now. That afternoon, I received an email from the dating site. A generic apology. A claim that their compatibility intelligence wasn't designed to screen for people hiding criminal records under false IDs. A voucher for 3 free months, as if I'd ever log into that cursed site again. 3 weeks later, the police found my car in a town 2 hours away, parked neatly in the driveway of a woman who turned pale when she learned the truth. Jonah, she whispered, is my husband. I didn't tell her that he had kissed my forehead. Or that he had cooked in my kitchen. Or that he had stolen the life savings I spent a decade building. I just watched as she collapsed into a chair, the horror sinking into her bones the same way it had sunk into mine. Jonah was a career thief whose strongest weapon was tenderness. I have a new apartment now. New locks. New bank. New number. I find it so hard to trust people now. Sometimes I still catch myself wishing he'd explain why he chose me. As if the answer would make any difference.